Hello again everybody! Today I'm back and this is going to be the second part of my 2015 year-end awards. I'll link below to the first part that came out a couple of days ago. In that one I basically touch on my favourite YA, my favourite genre, go through all those kinds of things. Today is going to be my best overall categories. So things like favourite character, favourite concept, favourite cover, and also a couple of slightly more negative ones. But, gotta end on a high, I'm going to announce my best book of 2015. It's a big accolade, everyone's after it, I tell you, getting calls all day. But basically, I've linked below as well the video I did about what I've read in the past year. So if you've not seen that one, you can have a look through and you'll be able to kind of see what I've read this year. There's a full list there, and then you can kind of work out which books I've picked my winners from. I'm going to flash up nominations all the way around the edge whenever I'm doing an award. You can see what I think the top 5 in that category were. But other than that, I'm going to get straight into the video and continue revealing my favourite books of 2015. My first award then is going to be Best Original Concept. This is the book which I think had the best original idea and spark that really inspired it throughout. And there's been some really wacky stuff this year. My list of nominations is Look Who's Back by Timur Vermes, about Hitler waking up in 2013 Germany. The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness, which won my Best YA award, which is basically about the apocalypse going on, but it's about a group of friends that are nothing to do with that and just trying to live their lives. A book by Dave Eggers, whose title is Far Too Long to Remember, which is basically all told in conversation. There's no description, it's just literally like an interview almost. The Heart Goes Last by Margaret Atwood, which is just a really interesting dystopian society, basically where for 1 month people will live in prison, and for the other month they live in a life of luxury. And The Goddess of Buttercups and Daisies by Mark Miller, which is it's set in ancient Greece, and it's all about kind of the Greek gods and how that an incorporation of those with kind of a comedic play that's ongoing. It sounds random and it is, but it was good. Some really wacky stuff in there. But my winner for this year, just because it's just the most ingenious idea and delivered so well, is The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. So I mentioned this in my last video, it won Best YA. It's just a genius concept. The start of each chapter has a little 10 lines about what happens to the protagonist of the apocalypse during this period. And then the chapter just goes on to be completely unrelated, made with a couple of little super clever intersections, and it's just such a good idea and it's so well executed. Continues Patrick Ness's reputation of being really interesting as an author, and definitely a genius concept for a book. Next up is my favourite cover of 2015. So I've mentioned in a couple of videos in the past that I think cover is something that really gets me in, even though you're not meant to judge a book by its cover. And there's been some brilliant covers this year that have really sucked me into books and really given a good idea of what it's about. So my nominations are All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, which I shown in the last video, it won Best Fiction. Set in World War II, and the cover is just the most beautiful teal kind of almost panorama of this random city in France. Look Who's Back, which is about Hitler, and the cover of that literally just looks like Hitler's face with a little tash, it's brilliant. Fin Fancy Necromancy by Randy Henderson, which has got a really cool pixelated animated 8-bit cover. The new Leatherbound Classics by Penguin, so I've not actually bought any of these yet, but basically they've redone 10, 12 classics in the most amazing leather-bound editions in these wonderfully amazing colours with these really intricate designs. And then The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness, which again is a cloth-bound Waterstones edition with yellow pages, and it's just a really cool cover and really cool physical book. For me, the winner is Fin Fancy Necromancy, which might come as a surprise, but what I love about this book is that the cover tells you exactly what to expect. I never would have picked this up otherwise, but I saw the cover, kind of pixelated, there's obviously a ghost. You can tell it's going to be geeky, you can tell it's going to appeal to people that like geek culture, and you can just tell the exact kind of book it's going to be. This cover did exactly what a cover needs to do. I wasn't interested in this book, I saw the cover, I picked it up, I bought it and I read it. It's exactly what a cover's meant to do, and it's exactly what this does. Just really, really clever stuff, and I think it definitely deserves commendation for the cover design. not to lower the tone too much, but next up is going to be my biggest disappointment. There's been a lot of books this year that I've been really hyped for that just haven't quite lived up to what I expected them to be. So, my 5 nominees for this, all disappointments for slightly different reasons. There's Head of State by Andrew Marr, which is kind of a political satire set around an impending European referendum on whether the UK leaves Europe, which just was a little bit too silly at points. Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, which is a kind of post-apocalyptic tale. Build has been a little bit weird, a little bit literary, thought it might be quite interesting. The Wall Creeper by Nell Zink, which I'd heard a lot about Nell Zink. It's a little bit weird, covers everything from... The blurb is like, covers everything from anal sex to green activism. That sums it up. Day 4 by Sarah Lotz, which is the follow-up to The 3, which I adored. And Sword Art Online, which is a manga basically set in a video game that people, when you die, you actually die. So all 5 of those sound like books I should really enjoy. Sword Art Online came a really close second because it's the exact kind of thing I should have loved and it was just boring. But the biggest disappointment for me, which I think is a very personal thing, is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. So I'd heard a lot about this, it had a lot of hype, and it follows, like I say, in this post-apocalyptic world about trying to rebuild and how society is coping. But nothing happened. It was just boring. There's no plot to it. It's quite character driven, but not even that much character development happens. It's just a little bit too airy-fairy, and there isn't enough actual content in it for me. I mean, it's not a thick book, but it's also not a thin book, and for the length and what it was billed as, it just did not live up to the hype in the slightest. I know a lot of people have adored this, it's just not my kind of book, even though I thought it would be on so many levels, and it was a real disappointment for me this year. So the next category is my favourite character. So I ummed and ahed about what I meant by favourite character for a while. Is that the character that I liked the most, or the character that I thought was the most well written? It's kind of ended up as a bit of a combination of both. It's the characters that have basically had the biggest impression on me and seemed like the most well-formed characters. I have to say, not many of the ones I have on this list would I say I liked, but still, it's a really interesting cast of characters, and these are the ones that are memorable for me. So we've got Maven from The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, Severo from Golden Sun, Darrow from Golden Sun, Etienne from All the Light We Cannot See, and Hitler from Look Who's Back. Who'd have thought Hitler would be on my favourite character list? Jeez, don't hold me to this ever again, yeah? But basically, these are all characters that have really stood out for me. I can't really go into much detail about some of them, for example, Maven from Red Queen, without giving away some real spoilers. But they're all really interesting characters that are really well formed. The winner for me is Etienne from All the Light We Cannot See. So, I mentioned in the past video, basically it's about a little French blind girl who's evacuated from Paris to this really isolated coastal French town to live with a great uncle Etienne. And Etienne is just the most amazing character. He starts off as a complete shut-in, and you just see his development throughout. And he's got flaws, but he's got these amazing benefits as well. And it's just such a clever character arc. He's not even a main character throughout a lot of it. He's kind of a little bit peripheral to start with, but his development was one of my favourite things about this book, and I found him a really relatable, empathetic character. Incredibly well written, and just another reason this book is so good. Next up, this is a category I'm super excited about, and it's my most anticipated book for 2016. There's a lot of things coming out, and pretty much all of these ones are sequels, but there's just so much. 3, 2, 1. This category is one I am super excited about, and that's most anticipated of 2016. These are pretty much all sequels to books I've read in the past, and these are things that I am just super excited about reading, and that I just want to have in my hands now and not have to wait for. Because basically it's quite difficult to make this judgment for anything apart from a sequel, there aren't as many nominees for this one, but the nominees are City of Mirrors by Justin Cronin, which is the final book in the Passage trilogy, which I've talked about a lot on this channel before as well. The Year of the Locust by Terry Hayes, which is the follow-up to his last year's book, I Am Pilgrim, which is one of my favourite thrillers I've ever read. Morning Star by Pierce Brown, which is the last book in the Red Rising trilogy, which I have raved about on this channel more than enough times, and Red Queen Book 2, which I think is called The Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard, which is a follow-up to, obviously, The Red Queen from last year, which again was one of my favourite YAs. So, it's a really good, I cannot wait to read all of these. I actually have one of these in a proof copy sitting on my shelf, which I am just dying to read, and that's Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. But if you've been following my videos and watched last episode of this and everything like that, you will probably have guessed that the winner is Morning Star by Pierce Brown. This is Golden Sun, the second one, and this series has just been something that every time it's come out I've had to read it straight away. I've been so engrossed and so enamoured with everything that's happened, and I just adore this series and cannot wait to read the conclusion. It's so big, this series. There's so many plot threads, so many characters. I have no idea how he's going to pull it together in one book. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he'll do an amazing job, and I cannot wait to read it. So here it is. This is the big one. What was my favourite book of 2015? So for this, I'm going to do a top 3. Basically, everything I've talked about today is nominated, along with everything I've read this year. Really good selection of things. And it's been a difficult one to decide over. Just missing out on a place in the top 3 is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I've talked about it. It's just an amazing book that's really sat with me, and one that I think a lot of people should read because it's got such a wide appeal and everyone has adored it. So that just misses out, and that's saying something about the quality of these books yet to come. In third place is Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. Again, might be surprised that this comes third, but part of that is because I had the expectation it would be amazing, and part of that is because it is the second book in a trilogy and it leaves a lot of things open for the third book. I absolutely adored reading this, probably the best sci-fi series I've ever read, and I cannot wait for the third one, as explained before. Second place, again, not a surprise, The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. It's an author I adore. It's a genius concept, genius cast of characters, and brilliantly executed. What more can you ask for? Absolutely loved it. It just didn't quite have the resonance that The Winner had with me to really, really cement it as my favourite book of 2015. Which brings me on to The Winner. And this definitely won't be a surprise to anyone that's been following my channels and reading my reviews. Will just know that this book has sat with me all year. It's just one that's had a really deep impact on me, and I think will continue to do so for years and years after I've read it. I read it 10 months ago, and already I feel like I want to and need to read it again, and I think that is the biggest kind of commendation you can give to a book, and the fact that it still affects me so deeply now, and that I still get so passionate talking about it, just demonstrates that it is an amazing book. It's Being Mortal by Atul Gawande. So I've talked about this so many times on the channel, absolutely rave by it every time it comes up, and it's just the most amazing book. It's the most penetrative book that really, really hits home for every person that reads it, and it's not the kind of book many people would pick up because it's quite a niche subject, and it's just not the easiest thing to consider reading about. But if anyone's umming and ahhing about it, just do it. It's my favourite book of 2015, probably my favourite non-fiction book ever, and up there with my favourite books ever. It's one that I commonly say is my favourite book I've ever read, and I don't think that's overstatement at all. An absolutely amazing book, and without a doubt my favourite book of 2015. So there we have it, that's it. That's my 2015 awards done. 12 categories, a ton of amazing books, quite a lot of double or triple winners, and all in all, it just makes me so happy about the reading year I had in 2015, and I am pumped for 2016 now. As always, if you've enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. It really, really means a lot to me. And please comment, what were your favourite books of the year? I know everyone's got an opinion on this, and I would love to know what you guys think. What do you think I should read that I've not even slightly mentioned? Anything you think I've missed out from my own list? Please let me know in the comments down below. It's super appreciated. My Goodreads and Twitter are in the description as well, and I'll link to any of the past videos I've mentioned as well. This will quite possibly be my last video of 2015, But I've got a ton of exciting stuff planned for the start of 2016, which I'm super excited to share with you, and I cannot wait to start reading some of the amazing books I've already got and that are coming out next year. Thanks for watching, hope you've had a lovely holiday, and see you soon with my next video.